This is lesson number 24 of 53 beginning weekly guitar lessons. This lesson is especially important because we're dealing with learning note names. We started with the chromatic scale. From the chromatic scale, we've gone to the natural scale. We went to working on some chords, some rhythms. We've also done shuffle and boogie. And we finally got to working with Form 2 major and minor scales and learning about the formula for scales and the half steps and seeing our scales vertically and horizontally. It's time to learn note names. I'm not asking you to learn to read music yet. We're going to talk about that later. But I do want you to know note names. I want you to know the system of notes on the whole guitar landscape, the geography of the guitar laid out. You need to know note names so you can associate or work with other musicians. It's going to help you in a lot of ways knowing note names, how the guitar is set up note-wise. So we have our natural scale. Hopefully you've worked on the E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and in reverse. A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. Hopefully you're really learning those notes. You see where your A's, your B's, your C's, your D's, your E's, your F's, your G's. Hopefully you're really learning those notes and you've worked on them. But now what about those notes in between the E, the F, and the G? Well, these are your chromatic notes. We're going to your chromatic scale now, all the way back to that very first scale that we worked on to get your finger placement, get your fingers placing correctly, hugging the frets, tips of fingers, fingers in position. But now it's about learning your note names. So when we start with E, when we get to F, if we go to the second fret, we have what's called F sharp. To sharp a note means to bring it up one semitone, a half step. Now, our next fret, of course, is G. But in music theory, we have our music system, we have G flat. We have sharps and flats. So flatting means to lower a semitone or a half step. If I play F and I play the next fret up, that note is F sharp, or I could call it G flat. G flat, F sharp. So that note has two names right now. When I go to G, it's just a G. So we've got E, F, F sharp or G flat, G. When I go to the fourth fret, that's G sharp, or it could be A flat, because if I went to the next fret, the fifth fret, that would be A. So down a half step is A flat. So our notes in first position, E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp or A flat. Now staying in first position, I'm going to go to the A string next. A, I'm going to have my first finger play A sharp. That could also be B flat. Then when I put my B down, B is B. When I put C down, C is C. When I put my fourth finger down, now I have C sharp or D flat. If I went up to the fifth fret on the D string out of position in form 2 or position 2, I would have D on the fifth fret. So D flatted would be the fourth fret. So my A string, I have A sharp or B flat, B, C, C sharp or D flat. Now I'm going to my open D string. My open D fourth string, I put my first finger down, that's D sharp. I sharped the open string. I raised it a half step, or what we call a semitone. So there we have D sharp. My next finger is E, so that could be E flat, D sharp, or E flat. So I have D, I have D sharp or E flat, E, and then F, E and F are natural notes like B and C. Then I go to fourth finger down. Now I have F sharp or G flat. If I went to the 5th fret, out of position again, the 5th fret D string is G. If I flat that, I'm on the 4th fret, there's my G flat, or F sharp. So the D string, I have open D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat. Now I go to my open G string. So when I put my first finger down from open G, I have G sharp. Now that could also be A flat because you see I have A 2nd fret. So I put my A down and then I go to A sharp. A sharp could also be B flat because I have B on the 4th fret. Now on my charts that you'll see, I've included B. Usually I don't because if you're learning a chromatic scale, you would be going B on the 4th fret G string and then an open B. So those are two of the same notes. So generally we shift after A sharp or B flat, we go to the open B. But the same thing is true. Open B flatted would be 3rd finger, 3rd fret G string. So the G string, you've got G, G sharp or A flat, A sharp or B flat, and then we go to the open B. And then C. B, C are natural half steps. No sharps or flats. C sharp would be the 2nd fret, or we could call that D flat. Then I go to D, and then I put my 4th finger down. That could be D sharp, or I could call that E flat. Because if I went to the 5th fret, that would be E, and E lowered a half step, semitone, is E flat. Let's go over the B string again. B, C, half steps, C sharp, D flat, D, D sharp or E flat. Now I'm to the open E and F. E and F are just natural tones, right? But when I put my 2nd finger down, I've got F sharp or G flat. 3rd finger, I go to G. 4th finger, I go to G sharp or A flat. Remember, in our natural scale, we went to A. So flatting A, lowering A half step, A was out of position. That was the 2nd position. We come down from A half step, and we've got A flat. A flat is also G sharp. So these notes are important for you to look at. When you look at the charts I've given you, you will see I've laid out the chromatic 1st position, and you'll see the open strings, and you'll see the natural notes, and you'll see the sharps. But you've got to realize that when you see F sharp is G flat also. When you see G sharp, that could be A flat. When you go to A sharp, that could be B flat. So they have two names. Anytime you have a sharp note or a flatted note, it could have another name. So we're going to go over this more in the future, but I wanted to introduce you to sharps and flats today. Do a little homework. Go on YouTube, do some searching, and search sharps and flats, Wikipedia. Understand what sharps and flats are about. We do have things called double sharps, double flats. And we have what's called the circle of fifths. This gets a little deep right now, but you're going to have to look at it soon or later and understand what the circle of fifths is about. But right now, let's start learning in the chromatic scale our note names. There's also a chart I've given you where I go through all of the notes on the whole guitar fretboard, and what I'm doing is I'm relating it to the key of A, because you're learning all of your major and minor scale forms and your other scale forms in A. It's usually where we learn them first. You'll see on those charts that the A is highlighted. All the A's are highlighted on the guitar, so that kind of gives you it gets your bearings set so that you start seeing your A's, and then you would see your A sharps and B flats and start seeing your sharps and flats as well. All right. You can always send me questions if you have questions. I hope this is useful to you to start learning about sharps and flats. Put a finger anywhere on the guitar, and either it's an E or an F or a B, C, or it's a sharp or flatted note. This is important. We start to learn our notes, our note names. Very, very important. The chromatic scale. We'll go back over this again on another review. And coming up, we're going to be talking about intervals. Stay tuned.